Tonight on Cronkite News, the expansion of an Arizona scholarship program is sparking controversy over the cost to taxpayers.
Plus, as the debate over the DACA program continues, one student shares her story about life without DACA protection.
And we'll meet the fencer who stops at nothing to keep competing. Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News. I'm Josh Amick.
And I'm Adrian Carbajal. Thank you for joining us.
After Arizona expanded the Empowerment Scholarship Program in 2022, thousands of students became eligible to use taxpayer-funded vouchers for private and religious schools.
The program has expanded considerably, and as Bree Pacelli reports, now it's sparking debate about the cost to taxpayers.
According to the Department of Education, before the expansion, just over 12,000 students were using ESA vouchers. The latest figures show more than 60,000 students are now taking advantage of it. In a new memo released July 25th, Governor Hobbs says the program could cost taxpayers nearly $1 billion for the fiscal year 2024. And she claims the vouchers could bankrupt the state, saying, quote, "The universal school voucher program is unsustainable. Unaccountable school vouchers do not save taxpayer money, and they do not provide a better education for Arizona students." However, the Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tom Horn, disagrees with Governor Hobbs about the overall costs of the program.
Well, she's in error about the cost. The calculation she's talking about was based on a formula that came from the legislature that dealt with the cost, but didn't deal with the offsetting savings. When a student costs $13,000 at a public school on average, if they go to a ESA school, that's going to cost about $7,000. So there's going to be a savings there rather than a cost, and that savings was not included in her calculation. So that's why she's way off on her calculation.
A recent report from the Arizona Center of Economic Progress found the average ESA program voucher costs over $15,000. According to the Arizona Department of Education, most of the growth of the program is from students in the universal category, as opposed to students seeking vouchers because they are in other covered categories like children in foster care who live on Native American reservations or have disabilities. As of now, a spokesperson with the Arizona Senate Republicans says there are no plans to address ESA vouchers when the state legislature reconvenes next week. From the newsroom, Bree Pacelli, Cronkite News.
Another group of young people getting attention from politicians are DACA recipients. The Migration Policy Institute estimates that as many as 1.1 million undocumented individuals in the U.S. are eligible for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals Protection, 44,000 of them in Arizona.
That's right, Adrian, but fewer than half of those are eligible actually have DACA protection. Shelly Garzon has the details from our Washington Bureau about why so many don't receive benefits from the program.
For 19-year-old Arizona State University student Maria Benitez, who is undocumented, life without DACA protection is a life of worry and added challenges to everyday life.
You have to do things and sometimes you're going to get nothing out of it. Like you have to work extra hard just to level up with everybody else. It's kind of just waiting for like a little miracle to help you get what you want.
What she wants is to get DACA, the 2012 program that protects migrants who were brought here as children from being deported. But applications for DACA were frozen last fall under the ongoing legal challenges to the program. Benitez is one of an estimated 22,000 DACA-eligible residents in Arizona who are not covered. That not only makes everyday life a challenge, but it can interfere with immigrants' long-range plans.
They graduate with an education degree or engineering degree or law degree, they won't be able to get licensed or be able to use that education in that sense. They could potentially help be a contractor or consultant, but it's going to be more challenging.
While the Department of Homeland Security stopped processing first-time DACA applications after October, those currently covered can apply for renewal, but overall numbers of people in the program are steadily shrinking. For Arizona Representative Raul Grijalva, there's an obvious solution to this.
We need a law. It needs to be codified. Until that happens, this back and forth, uncertainty, no certainty, is going to continue, and that's very, very sad.
Benitez says not having DACA has left her feeling like she can't ever fully stretch her legs, living in a constant worry of family separation. But while she is unsure of what her future will hold, she remains hopeful that one day that fear will be no more.
That's kind of what my life is based on. Like, you just have to take the leap and hope that in the end it will work out.
In Washington, Shelley Garzone, Cronkite News.
Meanwhile, migrants continue to risk their lives trying to enter the United States. U.S. Customs and Border Protection report that one man died and another was injured after falling 30 feet from the border fence near San Luis, Arizona. Border agents arrived in the area after seeing 4 individuals climbing the boundary fence on surveillance video. Agents found one man unconscious, lying face down on the concrete, but with a pulse. He later died at the hospital. While officials helped the man, a second man fell from the fence and also needed to be transported to the hospital. Both men were identified by officials as citizens of Mexico.
And more court action regarding migrants after a judge struck down a ruling affecting asylum seekers.
The decision means migrants who come to the U.S. border without seeking protection in another country cannot be denied entry.
The order takes away a key enforcement tool originally set in place by the Biden administration after Title 42 expired in May. The Biden administration rule includes severe limitations on migrants and asylum seekers, but a U.S. District Court judge says the rule is illegal and cannot remain in place.
Biden administration officials are appealing the decision, saying they're trying to strike a balance between strict border enforcement while still giving some a path to asylum.
President Biden's son, Hunter, pled not guilty today to tax charges after a deal with the government fell apart. Hunter Biden is accused of failing to pay more than $100,000 in taxes. He had previously made a plea deal with prosecutors who planned on recommending a sentence of 2 years probation. But today, the judge overseeing the case, who was appointed by former President Trump, raised concerns over the deal. In addition to the tax charges, Biden was also charged with possession of a firearm by a known drug user, which would normally carry a 10-year prison sentence. But under the plea deal, the gun charge would be dropped. The judge said she would schedule a new hearing on the matter soon.
3 retired military veterans testified before Congress today about UFOs, which are technically known as unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAPs. The veterans testified during a House Oversight Committee, claiming to have actually seen UAPs. They actually testified that the government has been too secretive about them. And one former military intelligence officer said the UAPs are actually a national security threat.
The technology that we faced was far superior than anything that we had, and you could put that anywhere. If you had one, you captured one, you reverse engineered it, you got it to work, you're talking something that can go into space, go someplace, drop down in a matter of seconds, do whatever it wants, and leave, and there's nothing we can do about it. Nothing.
Coming up next, a frightening morning in New York when a construction crane collapsed.
What caused part of this crane to fall to the ground and just how many people were injured?
And later, we take a look at how much longer the triple digits are going to stick around in the valley.
ASU's one and only student-run radio station, Blaze Radio, provides students with opportunities to cover a variety of topics. From music,
this is Sun City Garage,
to sports coverage.
Against the Brewers in his last outing, he went
to news.
The bill also gives parents the ability to sue.
And entertainment updates. Blaze Radio offers a fun environment to gain valuable broadcast experience. To find out more, visit blazeradioonline.com.
The Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication's Phoenix Sports Bureau provides students with hands-on learning experiences and opportunities in sports journalism. From covering local high schools, colleges, and the pros, students get the opportunity to go live from our Facebook shows covering local, collegiate, and pro sports in the Valley. From digital reporting, broadcast, social media, and producing, there's opportunities for all. For more, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
This is CN to Go. I'm Emily Olson with your Wednesday news briefing.
Do you want to create innovative content for Cronkite News? Do you enjoy listening to podcasts? Then CN to Go is for you. Cronkite News to Go is a podcast where students cover the latest headlines. Students become audio producers and hosts and will learn how to write, record, and edit stories. You can listen to the latest episodes on these platforms.
Did you know newsrooms today are looking for bilingual journalists? Cronkite Noticias prepares you to cover diverse communities. In Cronkite Noticias, you will obtain an unforgettable experience.
Nopales como este van a tumbar.
Cronkite Noticias.
And develop your skills with the latest technology.
A frightening morning in New York when part of a construction crane fell to the ground.
Several people were hurt after the crane fell from the 45th story. It happened during the busy commute this morning in Midtown Manhattan. The crane carrying 16 tons of concrete somehow caught fire, which caused the boom of the crane to give away. At least 11 people were hurt, including 2 firefighters and some construction workers. The good news, their injuries are said to be minor.
And in Minnesota, it's been so hot the roads are actually buckling. These images are from the Minneapolis area, and all the damage is thanks to a brutal heat wave that's hit the area where temps have been pushing 100 degrees, which is pretty abnormal for Minneapolis this time of year. Well, I don't know about you, Adrian, but 100 degrees sounds really nice to me because it's been so hot here in the valley.
It sure does, but will our temps come down anytime soon? Our Enrique Rupert joins us now with the answer. Enrique, please give us some good news.
Sorry to burst your bubble, Adrian, but no good news here. As in Phoenix today, it was 116 degrees, and we're not going to see any double-digit temperatures until 1 a.m. And as we go into our future cast, it's going to have a lot of activity over the central eastern part of Arizona, mostly in Safford, White River, Globe, and Payson. But it should subside by Thursday morning, and by Thursday evening it will come back, but mostly in the areas of Tucson, Sierra Vista, Wilcox, and Safford. Now, as we go into our low temperatures, it is going to be 92 degrees in Phoenix tomorrow. The rest of the south, they're in the 80s. And as we go up to the north, Flagstaff and the Grand Canyon, we're in the 50s, Holbrook and Window Rock, 50s and 60s respectively. And as we go into our high temperatures, Phoenix is going to be 115 degrees tomorrow, continuing that streak of over 110 degrees here in the valley. And if we look at the west, Bullhead City and Lake Havasu City, 117 and 116 respectively. So if you live in those areas, it is important to stay indoors if you can, stay hydrated, and stay away from dehydrating drinks such as alcohol and caffeinated drinks. Now, as we go into our 8-day forecast, tomorrow it's going to be 115 degrees, Friday 114, and as we go into the weekend, Saturday it's going to be 114, Sunday 109, and look at Friday to Tuesday. It's a lot of cloud cover over all of Arizona, and Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, there's a 20% chance of precipitation. But don't hold your breath because it's still going to be extremely hot over all of Arizona. And it is important just to stay hydrated and stay safe. From the Weather Center here at Cronkite News, I'm Enrique Rupert.
Coming up next, we'll take a look at a different way to buy sportswear.
From jerseys to ball caps, this store has more than the average sports apparel.
Three, 2, 1. Cronkite News. Get real professional experience in areas such as reporting, broadcast editing, and behind-the-scenes production, such as technical director and audio.
Kill the mics.
Or go out in the field and cover important local stories.
Learn and master the English language
in a fun, welcoming atmosphere. Cronkite News. The future starts now.
Here at the Walter Cronkite School, students produce award-winning content that focuses on health disparities in underserved communities and how to turn things around. In Cronkite News and Cronkite Noticias, students cover stories that affect people of color, the LGBTQ+ community, people with disabilities, and others across the Southwest.
We highlight big problems that are often overlooked in communities that are underserved.
Those stories not only inform and educate people about the challenges, but we work hard to highlight potential solutions. In the Cronkite Agency, students work to connect with community members through social media campaigns in English and Spanish.
Being a Hispanic myself, it's nice to be able to give back to my own community.
Find more of our health coverage at cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Who would have ever thought that wearing your grandfather's old Coyotes, Suns, or Diamondbacks jersey would become fashion?
Our Alexis Davis took a trip to Wang's Vintage to see where local fans are getting their gear with a twist of sustainability.
Welcome to Wang's Vintage. Sports fans from all around the valley sacrifice sleeping in on Saturday to get first dibs on Wang's $10 bins filled with vintage sports gear.
I think this place specifically has great deals. The $10 bins are something super affordable, especially with it being a college town and a lot of youth and younger people here. They notify everyone about the time, so that's why everyone formulates a line, because they have great pieces here. You don't want to miss it.
Wang's Vintage is owned by three brothers, Nate, Ian, and Noah Vazira. The store has transformed into a cultural hub.
It's almost birthed its own economy in a way, where you have people, the way the shop works is we buy stuff off people all day. So people within our community, they'll go to the thrift store, they'll find something, bring it to us, I'll give them $100 to it, whatever it is. And obviously we sell it on our side, but it's created this kind of supply chain.
The Vazira's father sold vintage, and the thrifting gene went on to be passed down equally to the vintage trio. The store takes pride in having one-of-a-kind items.
Right here we have a really rare Phoenix Suns shirt, and this one's cool because it's actually a licensed Phoenix Suns piece.
According to ThreadUp, thrifting is expected to grow over 127% by 2026. A part of this increase in thrifting can be accredited to Thrift Talk. Thrift Talk consists of over 2.3 billion thrift haul and get ready with me videos on TikTok.
Just showcasing it on a daily, getting into people's faces, educating them. I think it's great. It just adds more to the outfit of the day when you have a vintage piece in there versus just your regular typical piece of clothing.
The fashion industry is responsible for over 20% of global wastewater. That means over 11 million pounds of clothing are found in a landfill every year. 60,233,666 of these end up in a landfill every year. But that means that Wang's Vintage is just doing their part to stop the cycle.
Here's the life cycle of the red t-shirt in my hands. First, the t-shirt is designed, then the textiles are created by harvesting raw material. This process uses 1.2 billion tons annually of greenhouse gas emissions. After this, the garments are constructed and millions of gallons of car and plane fuel are used to transport the items. The garment then enters the consumer phase.
You are eliminating essentially the production side of manufacturing new garments when you're buying secondhand. And equally as important is that if you've outgrown something, it's no longer your style, consider donating it, keeping it out of the waste stream. Don't confuse the idea of reuse and recycling. You'd be amazed the amount of garments that we see coming through the recycling stream.
Changing a small part of your seasonal cleaning can lead to a large global impact with these steps.
You do need to make sure that garments go to a secondhand store. We don't have the capability when we're sorting through all the good recyclables to pull out good usable garments.
It's good for the planet. There are only good things attached to vintage. I couldn't name a bad thing with recycling, upcycling, and just reusing stuff. It's what it's meant to be for. So.
In Phoenix, Alexis Davis, Cronkite News.
The USA women's soccer team is trying for their third consecutive World Cup title. USA started off strong with a 3-0 win over Vietnam on Friday. And in her World Cup debut, Sophia Smith scored 2 goals in the first half. Team captain Lindsey Horan was able to secure the third goal in the second half. Team USA plays their second game tonight at 6 p.m. against the Netherlands.
The Arizona Cardinals training camp is finally here, and it's not just for the players. Training camp today began with the Cardinals, and they will hold their first public practice on Thursday. In addition to Thursday, the Cardinals will also host a league-wide back-together weekend on Saturday, as well as their annual red and white practice on August 5th. Fans are able to secure up to 4 free tickets per practice.
Coming up next, we will hear from one athlete who is using his sport to combat more than challengers.
He says the sport of fencing helps him with the debilitating disease.
ASU's one and only student-run radio station, Blaze Radio, provides students with opportunities to cover a variety of topics. From music,
this is Sun City Garage,
to sports coverage,
against the Brewers in his last outing, he went
to news.
The bill also gives parents the ability to sue.
And entertainment updates. Blaze Radio offers a fun environment to gain valuable broadcast experience. To find out more, visit blazeradioonline.com.
Did you know newsrooms today are looking for bilingual journalists? Cronkite Noticias prepares you to cover diverse communities. In Cronkite Noticias, you will obtain an unforgettable experience.
Nopales como este van a tumbar.
Cronkite Noticias.
And develop your skills with the latest technology.
Three, two, one. Cronkite News. Get real professional experience in areas such as reporting, broadcast editing, and behind-the-scenes production, such as technical director and audio.
Kill the mics.
Or go out in the field and cover important local stories.
We learn and master the English language.
In a fun, welcoming atmosphere. Cronkite News. The future starts now.
Here at the Walter Cronkite School, students produce award-winning content that focuses on health disparities in underserved communities and how to turn things around. In Cronkite News and Cronkite Noticias, students cover stories that affect people of color, the LGBTQ+ community, people with disabilities, and others across the Southwest.
We highlight big problems that are often overlooked in communities that are underserved.
Those stories not only inform and educate people about the challenges, but we work hard to highlight potential solutions. In the Cronkite Agency, students work to connect with community members through social media campaigns in English and Spanish.
Being a Hispanic myself, it's nice to be able to give back to my own community.
Find more of our health coverage at cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Fencing is one of those sports that you can compete in well into your 80s.
Enrique Rupert caught up with one extraordinary senior athlete participating in USA Fencing's Summer Nationals.
Hans Borgensberger is a retired nuclear physicist who has Parkinson's disease. Born in Austria, he fenced as a young man, but completely forgot about the sport until he started physical therapy for his ailment.
I had physical therapy. And in that physical therapy, they had to hold me with every movement. But there it was a movement that was like this, and then I had to hold on in my apartment on a couch. I was practicing that, and then I remember, man, that is the attack in fencing.
Borgensberger found the Phoenix Falcons Fencing Club when he moved to Arizona, where they trained and encouraged him to take part in the Summer Nationals. Like many others with the disease, Borgensberger suffers from shaking and general stiffness, not helped by his age. And whenever he fences, these effects disappear. His doctor of 3 years, Deborah Witter, has seen improvements.
For Hans, fencing has been instrumental in his improvement in his motor skills. So I often tell patients, better than any pill in a bottle that I can give you is exercise.
Borgensberger competed at this year's Summer Nationals, and for the last year, his fencing skills have gotten better, thanks to his coach Anthony Quinn, who encourages Hans at every turn. In addition to fencing on Tuesdays, Quinn even travels to Borgensberger's house in Sun City on Fridays for private lessons to help Hans continue to sharpen his skills.
He's been here for probably like a year, and his experience level, and he hadn't been fencing that long, and we wanted to get him ready for the Nationals, and so we said, well, maybe we start training a little bit more privately. So I go out to their facility out there in Sun City on Fridays, and we do a training session.
Ready, bet, call.
So whether you're a beginner or you have experience, Coach Quinn is willing to teach anyone with a breath, a pulse, once you can stand, how to fence.
Ready, fence.
Anyone, we take them from 10 to adult. Obviously, 82, we go all the way up to 82. So anybody is welcome to fence.
And for Borgensberger, this sport means everything.
It's a lifeline, and it looks like I'm winning. I think we keep working and working, and I think there is a way that Parkinson can't be stopped.
And while there's no solution right now, there have been advancements in other areas.
A lot of times research isn't about just the latest, greatest medication. Sometimes it's data collection, sometimes it's devices. So through research, we're trying to find ways to slow the progression of Parkinson's, but exercise is one of those things that really helps to maintain mobility, and we think overall slow the progression.
Borgensberger is hoping one day there will be more solutions for Parkinson's that could possibly reverse or stop his symptoms altogether. In the meantime, he'll continue to counterparry the disease. In Phoenix, Enrique Rupert, Cronkite News.
That's it for Cronkite News. Thank you for joining us.
And to see top Arizona stories anytime, log on to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.